Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
And we are recording this on the 8th of January. So this is our first in-studio recording session of 2023.
Yeah.
We made it.
We did. We're in 2023 now.
And so, what do we talk about on the podcast? We talk about, well, first of all, and at the end of the podcast is when you'll hear this, we remember hoonigan legend, drifting legend, and all around hooligan, Ken Block.
Yep.
But we also talk a little bit about my aspirations about Porsches.
Yep.
We talk about my work. I did a lot of talking on this episode, actually.
You did, yeah.
Which
is fine.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about various things that we're excited about. We touch a little bit on our OneDrive segment that is going to be coming up starting in April. And I don't know.
We actually talk about one more thing, which is a good dealership story for a change.
Oh, yeah. How about that? Well, let's get into it, shall we?
We shall.
And also, what did I how much of the... I'm going to hold this here.
Yeah.
For recording, for volume purposes. How much of how much do you know about the Mark 8 GTI Veloster N do you know about that I told you yesterday?
Not a lot.
Okay, so while I was editing C8 stuff, because Jaden and I were in the C8 together.
Yeah.
And Jaden and I got a lot of FaceTime, like with me editing and looking at Jaden.
Okay. Yeah.
So that triggered, oh yeah, Jaden has a friend with a Mark 8 GTI.
Gotcha.
So I reached out to him because I'm, now that like the California stuff is like pretty close, it is basically all sorted out. Like my brain needs like the next thing.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I'm about to sneeze.
Uh-oh. He's making the face, the sneeze face.
It's almost there.
It's going to avoid him. He's going to get cock blocked from the sneeze. I hate that.
It'll come later.
Anyways.
So I reached out to Jade and I was, let me give you a play-by-play
Gotcha.
here. I said, so not this week, but next week I'm taking a road trip to LA. Gave him the dates. And I said, when I get back, though, I'm thinking about doing a video shoot with a Veloster N and hopefully with your buddy's Mark 8. Do you know when he's available? And he said that he can take the car the following weekend. So Jane can just take it. And I said, oh, well, that'll make things easier. So they're going to look. So he's going to meet up at my place and we'll slate a time. Probably like 8 or something.
Yeah.
Meet at my place at 8 and then bounce. So yeah, he's going to grab the car the night before. And then at that point, I reached out to Randall. And I told you about the Veloster N part where looks like he and his girlfriend and me, my girlfriend and I are going to double date the night before and hand off cars.
Yep.
So I'll pull up to KOU, Korean Barbecue of Utah.
Nice.
And pull up with a Fiesta and leave with a Veloster N.
It's an interesting, like, I think when you did message me that part, and I was like, that's like the car version of Wife Swap.
It kind of is.
Here's, throw the keys back and forth.
Yeah. So, well, it is funny because, like, we are, coming with our girlfriends. And then, well, his wife, I guess. I keep on saying girlfriend, but his wife.
They did officially elope.
Yeah. Like a year ago? Was it 21 or 22?
I think it was 21.
Okay.
So.
By the way, congrats, Randall.
Yeah.
Well done.
Late congrats.
And so, pulling away in the Veloster N and then gonna just leave in the morning with a Mark 8 GTI and a Veloster N and come up here and film at Syracuse or film at Antelope.
Because apparently winter is the time to do that, as we discovered.
Think it is. It's when it's not windy.
Yeah.
It's fine. Even when it's 20 degrees and sunny, it's fine. Coming up here, though, is warm. At some point on the freeway, my car said 50.
Yes. We've had some weird since I generally get weird weather to begin with, we sometimes have the opposite shit happen from the lake, the opposite of lake effect, where we'll kind of get trapped in a heat bubble, you know.
Well, and like, you know, experiencing a 50-degree and sunny day is not out of the question for the winter.
Yeah.
It doesn't normally happen on January the 8th. Normally that's like a February thing.
Well, we've just had some weird weather to begin with. Like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah, the weather's been super bipolar. And like, we're not normally a car channel that talks about the weather very much, but like, Alta has received over 350 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Which is like a record break. I saw some other stat that this is the most amount of snow the state of Utah's gotten in 4 decades.
Yes.
To be fair, we haven't had a good winter at all in like a decade and a half.
Yeah.
Like compared to what we used to get, like the snowstorms that we would get in like the 90s and the 2000s was like fucking amazing. And it was year after year after year. And I'm not just saying that because I was a little kid. Like
it was.
It actually was.
And the craziest part is that out of the ski resorts in the entire United States with the most snowpack, the top 4 out of 5 were Utah.
Yeah, it was Park City, Alta, was it the Canyons?
I think it was Snowbird. And then I don't think it might have been Brighton, I think.
Probably.
But yeah, it was, they were
the Cottonwoods generally get more snow than up in Park City.
Yeah.
So the fact that Park City was also still up there was like, oh shit, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So good for us. That means a lot of business for the resorts, which is something that they've been desperately needing for a very long time.
Yeah.
I have come to the conclusion that I don't think I'll ever ski again.
Gotcha.
Because of the crazy amount of people and the cost and like all the bullshit that comes with skiing. I'm just like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to, the same reason why we go out and drive in the canyons is like, I want to get away from people. Yeah. I don't want to be trapped in a line for 45 minutes waiting for a lift to then be, surrounded by a bunch of people on the way down. Like, I'm not into that.
Yeah. Actually, it gets pretty bad. Carson had a day off on Monday for the day after New Year's. Yeah. Went up and attempted to ski at Snow Basin. 2-hour wait in the car.
Yeah.
Going up trappers. Not that it wasn't necessarily expected, but still, it's like, holy crap.
Well, I did a photo shoot with the Maserati Gran Turismo a year ago.
Yeah.
Was it a year ago? Fuck, it was about a year ago. Yeah, it was the winter of 22.
Yeah.
And so we did this photo shoot at the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon. There's this little pullout with this, really nice backdrop of like this granite mountain. It's like really imposing. It's like a really beautiful view. You can shoot there in the fall because there's like some trees around there that you get some nice fall colors.
Yeah.
It's this really nice view. That's at the mouth of the canyon. That's like right where it opens up. And, the Alta is at the very top. What else is in Little Cottonwood? Because in Big Cottonwood, there's Brighton and Solitude. I think it's really only Alta.
I think so.
And the line was going past, like me pulling up to the photo shoot, I was already in a traffic jam before I got there.
Yeah.
So that would also probably be a 90-minute to 2-hour plus wait.
I actually remember back when I was Ubering.
And that was at like 8:30 in the morning, too.
Yeah. Back when I was Ubering, I got stuck in one of those. And because I was taking somebody from the airport up to the resort.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, is it always this bad? I was like, not really, but like you happen to choose a very bad day by accident. Like,
yeah.
It just happens.
Well, one of the worst wintertime commutes I've ever had was when I lived in Taylorsville and was commuting up to Park City for my job at the film studio.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2 hours door to door. That was an hour and 58 door to door. And that's with crazy snow, up in Parley's, stop and go, some people stopping and not being able to go again. And you have to like navigate around that bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the worst ones I've ever had. And that's over a 30+ mile long drive. So think of it in like a 10-mile drive, it taking 2 hours. Like that's fucking ridiculous.
Creep for 2 minutes, sit for 5, type of deal.
Oh, that's probably a creep for 15 seconds, and then you're waiting for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's fuck to the no.
It's sad. It does make you think about that. That's why they're proposing those lifts, as shitty as it is, going up the canyon.
I think they should add fucking tolls, honestly.
I know. Because
as much as I don't want to pay a toll to
drive up a canyon road.
Yeah. Because Mill Creek Canyon has that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's one of the reasons why I don't go up there. It's also like there's a good amount of people up there and the pavement's kind of shit. Like it's not a great road to actually like drive.
Yeah.
It's scenic, and Log Haven is up there, which is this amazing restaurant. Have you ever been?
I've heard of it. I just haven't been.
My mom did some marketing for them like 20 years ago. So that's the only reason why I know of it.
Gotcha.
It's pretty, and like Lock Haven is a beautiful restaurant that's also a wedding destination that people go and do. And like there's also, if you keep driving up from Lock Haven, there's this even a road that's probably narrower than Alpine Loop.
Gotcha.
It's like really like skinny,
effectively one lane,
almost a one lane.
Yeah.
And there, if you go take that road all the way to the end, there's a parking lot, and that road is actually open seasonally. That is open from like May to November.
Okay.
There's like a posted sign.
Yeah.
And so that takes you to a trailhead, and you can go up from there. And I think that's like a $5 fee. I think so. Like it is nothing crazy. I don't think it's 10. I think it's 5.
Yeah.
Or at least it has been 5. Antelope Island has been 10 and is now 15, which is kind of a pain.
Yep.
Especially when you are like us and we have multiple vehicles. It's never one vehicle going through. It's all at, with our cut down setup of the Saab and the Fiesta ST.
It was 2, and that's a minimum.
And that's a bare fucking minimum. And both of those cars were featured on camera.
Yep.
Which, by the time you're hearing this, it's not going to be for a few months out. We're starting up some weekly content starting, I want to say, in April. And I did some calculations. So I can give you a sneak peek of like what we're going to be doing. I've already filmed and edited C8 Corvette, my Fiesta ST, and your Saab 900 Turbo SPG.
Yeah.
Those are already in the can. Do I have... Oh, I guess I could maybe look up the list. So I'm going off to California in a week, which is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the girlfriend and road tripping down there. Overnight in Vegas, and on the way down, but on the way back, we're doing the 12-hour trek.
Yeah.
Because how else do you want to test a young relationship by being stuck for 12 hours in a loud and stiff Fiesta ST for 12 hours?
Come on, that's the best way.
It is the best way to test a relationship. You're absolutely right. Thank God it's not in the summertime.
Yes, that would be...
I mean, I have great air conditioning, great HVAC, and it'll be fine. But going down there, and I'm going to drive, and I have on Turo a 718 Boxster GTS 4-liter. Which is kind of as good as the Boxster gets until you get to Boxster Spider, which is, at this point, basically a GT3 engine in a Boxster.
Yeah.
It's not the same engine. It is technically a different engine. Doesn't rev quite as high, but the GTS 4-liter is basically as good as the pedestrian Boxsters get.
Yes.
Right? Without the actual motorsports heritage.
Yeah.
And I'm going down. So Maddie and I are road tripping down. Mm-hmm. I have a friend of mine, Andrew Casey, who's been on the podcast before. He and his girlfriend are flying in because he's a pilot and she's a stewardess.
Yeah.
And so they're going to fly in. He's picking up a 718 GT4. So, of course, he had to one-up me. So thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
And, we're going to do some car swapping as well because... When I started planning this trip, I sent him the Turo link to my car. He's like, "Oh, you bitch!"
Nice.
And so we'll be trading some back and forth. I hope the weather's good because they've also been getting a fuckload of rain.
Yeah, I think probably all the same storms, just going down that direction.
Yeah, because they're in the mid 50s when it's raining, and when it's snowing for us, it's in the upper 20s, lower 30s.
Yep.
So. But it'll be fun. I mean, even if I have to have the top up in a GTS 4-liter, like, okay.
Oh, well. Big whoop. Oh, well, I still have a GTS 4-liter.
Yeah. And both cars are PDK. So that'll be an interesting comparison in side by side because from what I've seen, we're the first generation of GT4. Everyone said the gears are too long.
Yeah.
And Porsches, because of how high they rev, especially like GT3s that go to 9K, like, it's going to be a longer gear ratio than what would be in something like a hot hatch or something like a Honda, something like a Miata that has pretty short ratios.
Yeah.
These are longer. I mean, it's not quite Corvette levels. It's almost a Corvette levels. But, so we'll see how I haven't driven a GT4 period, and I haven't driven a Boxster ever of any kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've only had Caymans, and that's
Gotcha.
not necessarily like by design. I haven't had anything against Boxsters. Just with my mid-engine Porsche experiences, I've always, for whatever reason, chased the Caymans.
Okay.
So this will be, I'll be kind of ruining myself for Boxsters at this point, almost. So I'll be filming those two cars, and what else do I have on docket? I had something else.
Mark 8.
Mark 8 and the Veloster N. So by the time all of those cars are said and done, by the end of this month, I'll have 7 cars.
Yeah, and then those will start releasing later this year. We'll kind of just start trying to front load all this weekly content so we don't get swamped.
Yeah, we want to keep up the weekly. That's part of the point. So, like, I already have the 2 gray cars, the Saab and the Fiesta, already scheduled on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I can move the scheduling around. That's not locked in. Actually, when I left today, or just as I was leaving, I uploaded the C8.
Nice. Okay.
So if you want to take a look at that and to see how that is, the C8 is the worst video, by the way.
Okay.
Because I had like 3 different GoPro failures. There was a moment where I thought that one of the tires had got a flat.
Okay.
There's some weird shaking that was going on.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a really great mood. Considering I was in a C8 Corvette, I was in a really great mood for other things that happened in the morning. So that's the worst one.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it'll be good to get into like the grind of like the weekly, and if we can like really stay ahead. I want to find a way that I can stay ahead and not burn out.
Yes.
Especially seeing as I had a not famous, because like we're not famous, but
no.
Between me and you, a well-known burnout moment that I had in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were trying to crank stuff out in the summertime. I was trying to keep up the level of quality. And like looking back at it now, it's still kind of shit.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
Very much.
And I just fucking burnt out.
I believe it was right at October, right when we left to California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then the shitstorm of, getting a BMW that won't turn on. And the whole Polaris moment. And then we had the kind of a burnout moment of trying to get that, because we made a video.
Yeah.
That all of 30 people watched, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Where it's just like a vlogumentary, for the lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's far and beyond a lot worse compared to our current content. Like I basically just stitched it together.
It was tough to navigate, though.
Yeah.
It was interesting. And so when that was happening, I was working at the flower shop, working like not like a bunch, but like really busy.
Holiday season.
Well, through the summer though, I was burning out from that, and that has its own reasons to burn out with, dealing with logistics of like, you can't leave flowers outside when it's 100 and nobody's fucking home and people don't want to answer their phones.
Yeah.
So what the fuck do you do when you have a bunch of deliveries all day?
And flowers that'll wilt so that you can't just leave.
You can't leave them. Yeah. So there's that. Fast forward to now, where I just got done cranking out a holiday gift guide for an overlanding company, 230 and Expedition Superstore.
Yep.
Where I was creating enough content to post. So our posting schedule was 3 different posts a day, but each post was a different kind of post for a different product. So juggling stories, reels, and normal Facebook posts.
Yeah.
3 of those a day for 3 different products a day. I got done with a month of that.
Yeah.
And I have now a backlog of footage from the previous content creator guy. He shot like 500 gigs of shit.
Okay. Yeah. And that's not a small amount for like just little reels and stuff.
Yeah, he did some overnight stuff with them as well. Like they did a few different like guided trail rides.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he was also shooting it in 4K. I don't know what kind of camera he had. He must have had like a mirrorless Canon, I think like an R6 or something like that, or R5.
Yeah.
So I've been like navigating that. And we're gonna do this whole introspective like post like look back stuff, and like this is still technically the slow season.
Yeah,
because Expedition Superstore gets a bunch of stuff like over the summer of like, people wanting builds, because Expedition Superstore is interesting because they are a storefront that's kind of like the REI of overlanding.
Okay.
So they'll have a bunch of 23-0 tents that are assembled and up, but then they'll have the rest, which is, they'll have recovery boards, which is like the plastic kind of boarding. It looks almost like in the shape of like a skimboard or a surfboard.
Yeah.
And whether it's snow or sand or whatever, you put that in front of the wheel that's, spinning, so it can get traction and shoot you out of there.
It'll drag it under and drive out.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, things like that. Things like stoves. Things like wheels and tires and, external, like high-end, like fog lamps from, like, Baja Design or Heretic or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of cookware, or like, so they have like a lot of that stuff. But then on the back end of Expedition Superstore, there's a whole shop that's also mixed in with like their inventory and stuff too.
Yeah.
But you can say you have a Toyota Tacoma, and if you want a camper mount, like, installed with a rooftop tent and an awning and lights and a lift and wheels, tires, like all of that shit can also be done at the back of Expedition Superstore.
Nice.
And so I was talking to one of the mechanics the other day, and he was like, yeah, this is the slow season. At the busy season, we'll probably about triple where we're at now.
Jeez.
And I'm like, okay, how am I going to juggle ESS and 23-0? Because I work for both companies.
Yeah.
Like, and I know ESS is going to be taking more of a priority for reasons that I probably shouldn't disclose on mic. I can talk about it later.
Yeah, yeah.
Like ESS, like 23-0 didn't go to SEMA last year. ESS did.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have a bunch of trade shows that we're doing this year. Overland Expo, who my good buddy Andrew Jackson actually does the social media and the marketing for them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Like when I got the gig, he was the first person I texted. It's like, dude, guess what?
We both work media for overland companies now.
Yeah. He's not just social media, though. He's like marketing. He's doing email marketing. He's doing like the whole nine.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's a busy guy. And so I didn't intentionally try to follow in his footsteps.
It just naturally happens.
Just is kind of happening, which is fine. It's great. It's allowing me to eventually buy a Porsche later in a few years.
Yeah, yeah.
Which we kind of talked about.
Yeah, we did
before.
Yeah.
I was kind of drooling last night. I was like, okay, so it's gonna take some work, but picture a Guards Red. It's a little basic, but Guards Red 997 Carrera S.
Okay.
Ducktail out the back.
Mm-hmm.
Gold Fuchs.
Okay.
And you know that actually this is a great example. The flag, the racing flag that goes down the side of 997 GT3s.
Yep.
And GT3 RSs. I've seen some other like Carreras with them, and I'm the example that I was holding was this little diecast model that's on our podcast table already. It's a 997 GT3 RS that came like when these cars came out, the more common or the press photos had them in either the black with orange accents, so the accents being GT3 RS written on it, and the wheels and the flag that goes down the side, and the mirrors, and also the end caps on the wing.
Yeah.
It would either be black car with orange accents or orange car with black accents. Those were like the main colors.
Yeah.
And then the paint to sample is a thing and was a thing, and you could get paint to sample stuff, or I've seen them with white car with red accents.
Yeah, yeah.
There was one that was here locally running around that used to own or be owned by Bill White, funny enough, from Billy Blanco's.
Damn.
Yeah. But the flag is what I'm kind of getting at. That kind of goes down the side there. Imagine like Guards Red car, black flag that goes down the side.
With gold Fuchs.
With gold Fuchs and a ducktail.
Okay. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Fortunately, the Fuchs and the flag are two things you do yourself. As long as you find a Guards Red car, hopefully with a
Guards
ducktail.
Red car, and you can get an aftermarket, ducktail. That's not hard.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't have to do too much modification to install it.
I don't think you do. It's because it's basically the same deck lid.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of variation on those cars that came from like different engines.
Yeah.
That actually, thanks for a flat engine.
Yeah.
You can increase displacement and it doesn't get any taller.
No. So I imagine that hopefully, especially with Porsche being like Porsche files being Porsche files, getting an aftermarket spoiler like that, you shouldn't have to like do crazy drill hole type shit.
I think it's a direct replacement.
Yeah, I think so. And then wheels, and then we know plenty of people in the valley that can do good vinyl. So with a flag. So
yeah, and send the wheels to Nate to get them
powder coated. Oh yeah, that'd be sweet.
I also had a thought, and I haven't talked to Nate about this, but I also had a thought of like, how long is he going to keep his aero kit for?
That's a good question. That's a nice car.
It is a nice car.
It is a lovely, very balanced on all across the board experience.
Yeah.
It's just powerful enough, easy to drive. It sounds great. I mean, he's got that. Neither of us have heard that crazy exhaust.
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Is it sound?
It's fucking spicy.
Sweet.
I would probably I would keep it, but not keep it on the car.
Tone it back for daily.
I would dial it back a little bit. And I mean, and this would be like a summertime daily thing.
Yeah.
Drive it to the office, most days, have another vehicle to go to Costco in.
Oh yeah.
Who knows, by that point, I might be so in deep with overlanding that I sell the Fiesta and get an Outback.
Yeah.
Or something. Or fucking, join the rest of Utah and get a Tacoma.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't join that club because of anyways, it's funny to me that I joined that club for very other reasons.
You were one of the trendsetters though with the color. Like you were like right as those were like getting like as they were getting hot before they became basic, because there's the cycle of the uncool and cool cycle.
Yep.
You were just before it was like you were as it was ironically cool.
Yeah.
Before it became like mainstream cool.
Yeah, and that was because 2019 was the first year that color was available on a regular ass Tacoma and not a Pro.
Yeah, and you got yours in May of 2019.
Yeah, so it was right as they were just hitting around, pretty soon in that. And yeah, fortunately though, mine's still pretty unique with the color match shell and the long bed. Like that's actually still a fairly rare combination. You rarely see long beds.
I was talking about your truck like the other day to one of the guys at work.
Yeah.
So yours is not a TRD?
Mine's a TRD off-road.
TRD off-road.
So not a TRD Pro.
Okay, gotcha.
So it is as high up the chain as you can go with a long bed.
Uh-huh.
And the only options it's missing are the leather package, which also included like the auto climate and sunroof and stuff. Other than that, it has every other option. And then I got the paint match shell and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's funny though, being a long bed, it actually is very narrow, but the long bed Tacomas are actually way longer than you'd expect in a weird way.
Are they 6.5 foot beds?
They're 6 foot beds.
They're 6 foot beds, okay.
But just due to the packaging and being a quad cab and having a longer nose than most of the other small trucks, like the Colorado and Ranger have much shorter noses.
Yeah.
It's actually only like an inch shorter than a Suburban.
Oh my God. I was editing a video for ESS. By the way, going forward, when I mention ESS, that is Expedition Superstore.
Yeah.
One of the companies I work for. So we were putting together a series of TikToks and Reels for this Colorado build. This is a thing that was filmed probably 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was going through this video was a walkthrough, and it wasn't supposed to be about money or pricing, but I made it a thing about money and pricing because I wanted to show this is how much these things cost. And so this is the Colorado ZR2.
Yeah.
With the camper and like a 13-gallon water tank.
Okay.
And a propane heater, and it had one of our rooftop tents, which those start at $2,000.
Yeah.
Most of them are like 3 to 3.5, I think.
Okay.
There was probably about 20 grand thrown into being conservative, with the camper and with everything else that was attached to it.
Yeah.
There was probably about 20 grand in add-ons to this fucking thing.
Was it a diesel one?
No, Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's the choice. The sad thing is, that's the Colorado to get for. The ZR2 is a really damn good vehicle.
Yeah.
The only thing that sucks, I would have gone with like a ZR1 or something like that, but any of those trims you can't get in a long bed, and they're just smaller and stuff like that.
So when we went to California and stopped in Vegas and drove our friend Steven's C2 Corvette, which had an LS in it.
Yeah.
He brought a friend of his, and we ended up using his truck as a support vehicle.
Yeah.
And that was a ZR2. And we looked at the back, like in the bed, and it was fucking tiny. You could basically put a full-size spare in there and then have and you could I don't know, what else can you throw in there?
A couple bags.
Yeah.
It's really, so those are about on the bed side just due to the way they designed it. It's about 3 inches or more narrower than my Tacoma and about 2 feet shorter and lots of other stuff. Like it's a really cool vehicle for what it's designed for, which is off-road, but it's practically half useless as a truck.
Yeah, it's because I'm just trying to think of what it would actually excel at, because when you're on sand, you don't want a short vehicle.
Yep.
You want to have the biggest footprint as you can.
Mm-hmm.
If you are rock crawling, then the approach angle on those is pretty good.
Very good, yeah.
But why are you buying a pickup truck to do that? And also that kind of pickup truck to do that.
Yeah, because it's not really, I mean, not only is it smaller, but it's not really a Raptor competitor in any way. Because
Raptors are for Baja, though.
Exactly.
Like that's more of the sand dune shit.
Exactly. I think the best way I could describe a ZR2 is for the person that wants to go medium-size mountain crawling. So like combo rock crawling, going through like UTV, non-groomed trails, like stuff like that, where you have a good approach angle, a relatively shorter vehicle. It's smaller, you can fit it places.
Yeah.
And you can kind of crawl up the same shit that like side-by-sides can. Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely not a Baja vehicle at all.
No.
It's more, I think it's more for that. Basically, it's more for Expedition Superstore to slap a tent on it and stuff, and you can drive up some pretty decent terrain, get away from everything, and then set up the tent on top of camp. That's probably the perfect use case.
That was a customer vehicle, too. That was not our own vehicle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the people there drive Toyotas.
Not surprising.
Yeah. There's one guy with the first gen Raptor. There's like I'm gonna have to learn what the generations are, but with the 4Runner that had the V8, the mid 2000s one, the dude like Rhino lined it.
Okay. Yeah, as some do.
And then there's like a couple of like current gen Tacomas.
Yeah.
And like that stuff. And then so that's at the ESS side. At 23.0, there's me with the Fiesta ST. There's a guy with an F-150 that he's built to do overland shit. There's another guy with like a BMW 3 Series, like an F30.
Yeah.
There's a Camry from the mid 2000s. And then there's also my boss Justin, who has a Raptor. Not a Raptor, I'm sorry, a TRX.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
So you have like all these different like flavors.
Quite an interesting mix.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of similarities here, or at 23.0, but then you go to ESS and it's like, okay, you want to work at ESS? Here's your Toyota.
Choose the flavor of Toyota you want.
Yes, exactly. pick your Toyota, pick your lights, and no, it's all good though. It is funny though, because the guy with the Raptor at ESS, he and this other guy. So there's Eric with the Raptor, and there's Ben who has that Rhino lined 4Runner.
Yeah,
and Eric is actually a Jeep guy. Like an old school Jeep guy. Mm-hmm. So, and he and Ben are just constantly going at it with like Toyota versus Jeep.
Yeah, that's an age-old battle at this point.
It really is.
It's almost a 50-year-old battle if you think about it.
Yeah, with the FJ40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's funny. It's wild. So I did have a couple interesting things to note. I had an update on something that we featured a while back.
Yeah?
An update on a... we'll see if it happens, but on one of our dealership stories. And it's a good one. It's not a bad one. This is actually
not a horror story.
This is not a horror story.
Interesting.
I'm not going to shout out who right now because it's still in process, but there was one individual, which you could go back and even listen to the old podcast, and we mentioned it, that was on a list to get a car that had put a deposit down back in September for a Volvo V60 Polestar.
Oh, okay.
And It was a refundable deposit. They're like, hey, we won't be able to get you a 22 model, but we could potentially get you a 23 model. We just won't know a date for a while. But you could put down a deposit, hold your space in line.
And that was back in September, and it's now January.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but they had warned him at that time that, by the way, it might not be till like May or June, something like that. We don't know. We won't know till the first of the year, effectively.
Okay. Well, now it's the first of the year.
He got a call on literally as first of the year as you can get as far as business days are concerned, which was the 2nd and Monday. They're like, cool. We'll put in the order this Wednesday. You'll get it by no later than March 1st.
Wow.
And like confirmed all the specs. They still, like, props to them, 4 months later, they still remembered all the specs he wanted. Like everything was logged right, and which was cool to see that like
Thank fucking God.
They had actually paid attention.
They did their fucking job.
And it's coming months earlier than expected. And the markup, so there is a markup, but the only reason there is, and it's only a $2,500 markup, I think, is because
that's tolerable.
They do have to custom order. Like it is, there is no.
Oh, okay, that's understandable.
Yes, they do not ship those cars in for inventory whatsoever. You have to order one to get one.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, tolerable.
As
markup.
someone who vehemently detests any kind of markup.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. Like for something that you do have to custom order in, like, yes, that money isn't actually going to Volvo. It's going to the dealership. It's probably going to the GM.
Probably.
I'm not saying I'm supporting it, but I'm tolerating it and somewhat understanding it.
That's in the understandable realm of a markup for reasons and the amount. So theoretically, that might be another car we could do it in our quick blasts.
Yeah,
because I know this individual would lend us.
We've driven his cars before.
Yes, and so we'll see if that continues to happen. Fingers crossed that everything should go well, and like the car will be really cool. I've actually seen some Volvos in that color. It's called Thunder Gray. It's a beautiful, very deep bluish gray. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool color.
It would be nice to have. It would have to be one of us, and knowing how the situation would work would probably be you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but you're a detailer though. You have to like actually use your truck every day.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like having one of us do an actual like daily drive, like livability review of it.
Yeah.
Because like, what are we going to do? Take it up a canyon road and like test it dynamically?
Not really.
That's not what it's for.
Yeah. Cause it does. I mean, it could be better than we might think. It's not what it's for. But it does have Öhlins on it from factory.
Yeah, but they're not like that sporty of an Öhlins.
No. I mean, livability use case is really the thing. Because
the setting that we would show the video on would be up a squiggly road because that's where the scenery is.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah, it would be nice to get like a week-long drive.
No.
I feel like we would be doing it a little bit of a disservice by just taking it for the day.
Yeah.
Which I know to some people that sounds very selfish.
Yeah.
Like, I want to drive your car for a week.
Yeah.
Like, we are in a very privileged situation where we can just ask for cars. Yeah. And more often than not, we get a green light.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And part of it is the building of relationships with people and knowing how to market ourselves. And also the fact that I give a free photo set and you give away a free interior and exterior detailing and cleaning. Mm-hmm. So there is some giving back on our end as well. It's not just us saying like, oh, hey, thanks for the car. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
You know? But with all that said, we get someone else's prized asset.
Yes.
I've had a few occasions a couple of years ago where I had cars for a week.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And one of them I actually need to do a revisit on because I drove the car, I took the photos, I tried to do a video, even with the owner in the car with me, and the video didn't work.
Gotcha.
So I want to find another one.
Yeah.
That was with the Lotus Elise.
Mm.
I have a weird history with Lotus Elises where I drive the car, it's great.
And in one way, shape, or form, it doesn't work.
And yeah, because like we did a video on a Lotus Elise a few years ago, and it was cringe.
Yeah.
Like in the edit, like we were laughing our asses off, but like even like when I looked at it after I posted, I was like, this is weird. This
was funny in the moment, but you had to be there.
Yeah, kind of. You had to be a part of the crew to like not for any inside jokes either. It's just like it was just like weird filmmaker shit.
Yeah.
So I think for these like I don't know if we're gonna call them quick drives or fast. We can't call them. I guess we can call them whatever the fuck we want. But Fast Blast is already taken by Everyday Driver years ago. One Take is a great fucking name.
Yep, it's already taken.
OneDrive. If the word is one word, that's actually an online cloud storage through Microsoft.
Yep.
So I'm like,
there is one. Actually, I just thought of one, and that maybe could work. QuickBits.
We talked about QuickBits.
We did talk about that one. Yeah, it's
QuickBits, especially with the online video and content creation culture right now.
Yeah,
that would have to be a TikTok.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it's always difficult naming something like that.
Do a car review in 7 seconds. Go.
Yeah. Shit goes fast. Shit turns corners. Brakes. Yes.
Done. And title card.
Exactly. Anyways, back to the Volvo. We'll have to see when it happens. Plus, when he's comfortable with loaning it. It'll be after all said and done, a $74,000 car. So pretty up there, decently.
Yeah.
Because one of the cool things about trying to use it as a daily, which is what I think is really cool about that package at this point, is it has 420 horsepower. So it's got a good amount of power.
It's got grunt.
But it also has almost 35 miles of all-electric range because it's a plug-in hybrid. So you could actually commute daily and effective.
Does it regen too?
Yes.
So you could live with it and have some EV-ness and not need a plug.
Yes. Because it regens as well, but the cool thing is, being it's a relatively small battery, you can plug it in even a regular 110 outlet and charge it within a few hours, very quickly. And
interesting.
And it will get on the freeway around 40 mpg. It's a very interesting package where it will do a little bit of everything really, really well. Plus, it's a Volvo, so it's got a great interior. It's comfortable. It's got a fantastic sound system. And at this point, now that they've flushed a lot of it out, a great infotainment system.
I just spent, and I talked about this on the podcast a little bit ago.
Yeah.
I spent 10 minutes in a V90.
Mm-hmm.
Is it V90?
V90, yeah.
Yeah. It was delightful. I was just driving it from the downtown shop at the flower shop I used to work at.
Yeah.
The car is owned by a friend of the shop and someone who would help out there a lot with just odds and ends. And for whatever reason, my car had to have been at the Sugar House shop.
Yeah.
I don't know why. My car was at Sugar House. I was driving the van, the big black van, and I was told to drop the van off at the downtown shop and then drive Miley's car back to Sugar House. I can't remember why or how that worked, but anyways.
Yeah.
It was delightful. It was a bit bigger than the size of my old Outback.
Mm-hmm.
But ride height was around the same, which was kind of a nostalgia trip.
Yeah.
In and of itself. Because normally in either things much lower or much more down under.
Yeah.
And then also things much taller like the Vans. So, no, I'm a fan of the Volvo brand as a whole. I don't think that they're slept on. I think they are expensive.
They are.
But if you get it, that's the car for you. Yeah.
They kind of took over most of Saab's customers in being the niche. They kind of are just the niche brand. They have a exact customer that they build an exact car for, that customer buys religiously every 5 to 10 years. It's a pretty repetitive cycle seemingly, with the people that own Volvos usually own either multiple or they always own a Volvo as that car, and have since they were 18 or whatever.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see, because fortunately there was a couple things he gained with getting a 23 model year. They actually, on the bolsters of the seats, they have a Gore-Tex to actually hold you in. So the seats are leather, but the actual bolsters on the bottom and on the sides that hug you are actually a mesh, a grippy mesh. A grippy mesh.
Interesting.
So there's a bunch of stuff that'll be interesting to see how it actually goes.
Yeah.
But that was one really good thing that I wanted to mention, because it'll be cool. It's actually good to hear a good dealer story.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because of the GR Corolla shit and Type R shit and the 400Z stuff going on.
Yeah.
my God, it's one thing after the other.
Yeah, so, I mean, I will give a quick shout out, as long as it goes through, to Ken Garf Volvo. Hopefully that everything just goes through and goes nice.
Don't fuck it up, Ken.
Don't fuck it up, Ken, exactly. But I did want to mention, as you see on our board over here, a couple things that happened this week.
Well, speaking of Ken. Yeah.
R.I.P. Ken Block.
Yeah, I've heard of. I heard a couple of podcasts. They've done cold opens talking about this.
Yep.
You know, it's interesting because neither you or I have met Ken Block.
Yep.
Kenny from the block.
Yeah.
I have seen him driving around Park City. And it wasn't just because it was a Focus RS with 1552s on it. Like, I was in my buddy's car. We saw him turn left at the Kimball Junction intersection by Hugo Coffee.
Yeah.
Or he was like waiting to turn, and we were able to drive through, get to Hugo Coffee, get to an overlook point, and saw him drive away from that same light.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my only real Ken Block story, aside from everything, you know, through Gymkhana when I was, 15 years old in 2008, seeing the very first one and sending that to my film teacher, saying like, how cool is this?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And like, that was like a big, it was an inspiration for me for sure.
Yeah.
And seeing how the brand of Hoonigan grew, and the Gymkhana as a brand as well, as a film series, and how influential that has become on so many people.
Yes.
It really is a tragic loss, for not just the car community, because sure, that is a thing, but for his family,
yes,
for the Hoonigan family, for the people that you and I know personally.
That was Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
That was, I actually waited a day. So that was Monday, January the 2nd is when he had his accident, and he sadly passed. I waited till the 3rd because I wanted to make a post saying like, well, this is terrible.
And everyone has.
Yeah. And
like the whole like global car community is, mourning this loss.
Yeah, because I think he really was one of the most universally loved. Like, not necessarily.
I haven't heard a bad story about him. I haven't heard anybody go like, good riddance or anything like that.
I saw one person, but they got savagely destroyed naturally,
that's
and understandably so, because the person was trying to say, "Oh, yay, global emissions will go down." No, like what?
Fuck off.
Even though his carbon footprint may be huge comparatively, but it's not going to affect the globe.
No,
yeah, it was ridiculous. So they got shit canned, thank God.
Yeah.
Anyways, but because of the fact that he did so much, and like honestly, most of his videos are pretty well liked. Even like you could show a Gymkhana to somebody who's not a car person whatsoever, and it's a spectacle. Like
my mom, who's not into cars at all, like knew Ken Block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he did a lot of things for a lot of people. He, with his big cash out that he had when he started DC Shoes, and when he sold that and got a lot of money, like he didn't just sit on it. He actually invested it, learned to rally, and then actually created a fairly large company.
He knew how to fucking spend his money
really well, and and that's we'll call that an evidence of trickle down actually kind of working, because it's a joke,
non-governmental trickle down,
where he actually did take that and create a large empire that directly and indirectly hires hundreds of people to do many different things, and has, at the time he started doing a lot of media with Brian Scotto, a lot of the stuff they did was not common on YouTube at the time, like Gymkhana, drifting videos and stuff. They were really at the forefront of a lot of that going on, and setting a lot of precedents that are very common in like car media culture today. Hugely influential. And I did actually just want to touch on two little stories I heard, because there's tons of stories like his actual like life and stuff is going to get covered in documentary. Like that's all going to be covered by people with far more media reach than us.
Yeah.
But there was two cool little stories that I heard that I just wanted to kind of share here real quick. I ran into a Facebook post of somebody posting a picture of the Huna Pegasus in the shop that it was in getting fixed, because it blew its engine.
Right.
And somebody commented on there saying, "Hey, I work for a local magazine, like a local news station - magazine. So I've gotten to interview Ken Block twice during times where he's been local to rally and drive races." He's like, both times were really good, but the first time in particular was really cool. So I go up to him in the pit. He has a long line of fans, about 50, 60 people long, which is longer than most drivers. Most drivers have some fans, but Ken in particular always had quite a crowd, understandably. So I waited there for about 5 minutes because I like to observe like how the driver interacts with the crowd. It's a very kind of like cute moment watching like them interact with their fans. He notices me and he just says, "Hey guys, I gotta go. I got an interview to do." And I just say, "Hang on, no, stay with your fans. I'll go get some lunch. I'll be back in like an hour. Let's just do this and whatnot. It's all good." And he's like, as shitty as it is to say, dealing with crowds is usually the last thing a driver wants to do, especially after an event or before an event. Like there's a lot of shit going on. And as much as some of them like having a fan base, it's kind of a pain.
Oh, it gets exhausting, I'm sure.
He's like, but I met back with Ken in his trailer and he like profusely thanked me for like letting him finish with his fans because he quite often gets pulled away from doing that to go just do all the other normal shit like interviews, drive, tests.
Running the docket,
yeah. And he's just like, he was probably the most thankful I've ever seen a driver for like just letting him just like relax, more or less. Mm-hmm. He's like, it seemed to Ken that like interacting with his fans was a relaxing thing versus it's usually the opposite with most drivers, which was cool. The second one, and I'm going to keep the name out of this one because it's a pretty personal story, but I did talk to this guy directly. And
do I know this person too?
No.
Okay.
Neither of us knew this person. I commented on a post and this dude commented back and said, "Hey, I'm going to send you a message." So in the Electricana film that just came out later this year, they had a bunch of older Audis in there, and a lot of those were invites, like individuals that were invited to bring their cars to participate.
You were invited
in the Gymkhana. I was invited for a couple reasons. I declined. One of which that we had our NSX reshoot that we needed to do. Also, my car was not in great condition. It was just kind of all bad timing. As much as I really, really wanted to do it, it was a stretch. So I declined. But there was a few cars there, one of which was driven by this individual that I talked to. He personally knows Brian Scotto as well, or they kind of remembered him from back in the really early forum days from the early 2000s. He has this beautiful red Coupe Quattro that is very well done up, awesome car, and was invited to participate and accepted. Because his son tragically passed away 2 years ago. And him and his son were major hoonigan and fans and Gymkhana and stuff. And his son was also a major Audi nut and passed away at 27. It was just a really tragic story. But he basically took this as like, oh, this invite, I'm going to find a way to do this because my son would have like dreamed for an opportunity like this. So he shows up to the shoot. They get it all done. And he made a request of the media team that was really cool that he's like, I didn't know if they were going to do it at all, but I requested that instead of putting my name in the credits of the driver, they put my son's name in. And he's like, I didn't know if they were going to do it. They did it. And I have to shout that out, not just because of a Ken thing, but like the team in general.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing that could have gotten lost in translation really easily. I'd just totally forgotten. But he's like, they actually did it, and it meant the world to me. Which I wanted to just shout out like a couple of those little stories because like there's a bunch of them. He was a pretty cool guy, and by every account, just like you said, that I've ever heard, he was really cool in person.
Yeah.
Like, still kept his...
and not even just with fans, though. Like, with other folks in the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And just the way that he treated his colleagues and you know, all of that. It's, a tragic loss. He has... I even said this, you know, because I caught wind ahead of time.
Yeah.
Before anything came out.
Yeah.
I caught wind as they were pulling him off the mountain kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was waiting for like basically the first news story that I saw. I was waiting for that and then going from there. But on my initial post, you know, he is already missed.
Yes.
Profusely by fans around the world. It's a terrible loss to the car community. And what I also conversely, on the flip side of this, the best way for somebody to be remembered or to be respected after they go is to talk about them.
Agreed. And fortunately, there's not only a lot to talk about with Ken, but a lot of good to talk about.
A lot of good to talk about.
On almost every level.
Yeah.
Like, he was, by all accounts, an extremely good father. Look at his kids and the fact that he's got...
Oh, my God. And also with...
Leah.
Yeah.
Her post.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
do you see they all got tattoos?
Yeah. It's a major loss for them because she had a burgeoning, like a very budding rally career.
Ken's last post on Instagram was about Leah and how they just got the car done.
Yeah, and that video was supposed to go live the morning after he passed. Like, and when I first saw the official news, I had seen that he had posted that, and I was wondering if that video was still going to go live or not. I could have seen it either way if they, let it.
Did they?
They didn't.
Okay.
And that's totally understandable.
Yeah. That's probably for the better move.
Yeah, I'm sure it still will go live at some point.
Oh yeah,
100%. But I was wondering if they were just going to let it go live regardless and just kind of like...
No.
But I was not surprised when they didn't.
Yeah.
Because, like, we actually both know the person that helped build that car.
Yeah.
Dave.
Shout out Dave.
And that was actually my first thought in our first conversation when you told me the news was, what's going to happen with the team?
Yeah.
Because they're local to us, the actual race team for rallies and builds and storage and stuff.
Not like the Burnyard or any of the stuff that most people see on YouTube.
Yeah.
But more of the actual Hoonigan Racing, the Hoonigan Racing division.
Yeah.
Is up in Park City, out by the Park City Gun Club and all that stuff.
And so we personally know quite a few people that work there, and it could be, I could see it going a bunch of different directions.
I messaged Toby as well when that happens. It's like, hey man, how you doing? Like,
yeah,
let me know if you need anything.
And the same with Dave. Like, I've worked with the team a couple times, just because since I have a CDL, I'm safe to like ask to transport things. So I've helped out a couple times with like transporting cars.
Well, yeah, you fucking transported the S1 thing.
Yeah, actually, I don't even think I've really addressed that here on the podcast.
Well, it was kind of hush-hush.
At the time, it was really hush-hush. It wasn't NDA because it wasn't officially released yet, even though it had been like announced and photos had been sent out.
Right.
It hadn't had electric.
And now that, the electric Gymkhana has come out, everyone knows about the car.
Yes.
You can talk about it.
Yeah, I got to spend a day with it. Basically what happened is it was in the middle of rally season. The car had been here in Utah for a bit, but it wasn't functional. It was a software locked out, so it couldn't drive itself, so it had to be trailered everywhere. And they needed to redo some press photos. But they were also short on their regular drivers because those guys were all out driving rally cars to different stages, making sure everything's prepped. So I know the head of the race team, Dave, really well, and he called me and said, "Hey, I need some help trailering this out to a place, to an Army depot in Tooele to do some shoots and some stuff." I mean, fortunately, timing worked out great, and I was able to accept and do that. It got rescheduled a couple times, but like it actually happened. So I was able to spend a day with that car, which was, I'm never going to be able to replace that. Like,
no,
especially not that car. It's one of one. There isn't another one.
Right.
It is a bespoke thing.
And even without the current situation with Ken, like, if he was still around, if he was still alive, if everything was normal, like that still wouldn't probably happen again.
No, probably not. But not only did I get to spend that time with it and whatnot, I was alone with it for an hour and a half because the film guys were moving to another location to set up stuff. The Hoonigan guys were actually in a Zoom meeting, so they were busy for a little bit. So I was just guarding the car for an hour and a half, just sitting with it. And I did actually get to I didn't drive it obviously at all, but like I, did get to actually pilot it into and out of the trailer because I was the one that was skinny enough to fit in and out.
Okay, Justin, give me driving impressions. Go.
It's very cramped.
Okay.
And the steering's very stiff when there's no electricity applied to it.
Yes.
There you go. That's the extent of my stuff.
Yeah.
However, I will say the one funny thing is the handbrake. This is some fantastic German redneck engineering. The handbrake, how you get it to stay up and hold, is literally just a little bolt that you just flip up and put down so it just keeps pressure.
That is German redneck shit.
Oh, it was fantastic. But so I was able to spend time with that car prior to its launch and really get to experience it and see up close and in person. Mm-hmm. Really cool thing. And the only other time I did something, I was. They did run out of drivers a couple times, but to drive out to rallies and stuff, but I wasn't able to drop things for a week and a half to do that because it would have been a big task. I would have had to be somewhere for multiple weeks.
Yeah. And
so that didn't really work out, but I did get to trailer his e-tron GT out to Colorado. Mm-hmm. For the reason that at that time, it was cheaper to trailer out there and leave it there than it was to rent a car, just because of how car rentals were. and he'd just rather have his own car out there anyways to drive around while they were doing the Pikes Peak testing and stuff like that. So I was able to drive out there and drop that off. But, so having done all that and having had experiences with the team, like the only thing I can think of is if Leah continues with racing.
I bet she would.
I think she will, but one of my worries is if she doesn't, which is totally understandable, and like I support her however she wants to do it because it's tragic and it's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
My hope is that the automotive community doesn't have some stupid backlash. I don't think they will, but like if she decides that she just can't continue and like whatnot because it's too traumatic or whatever.
Yeah.
My hope is that everybody understands. I do think though that if she does decide to, I think that 110%. Like pretty much everybody I've seen would be like, yeah, I'd be way behind her. She has a very good chance of being a next, great driver.
Well, so you heard about how the FIA is retiring the number 43?
Yes.
I think, there was another rally association that hasn't done anything about that.
Yeah.
I think that, this is just my own opinion. I'm just one guy, but
yeah.
I think Leah should continue. Yeah. In memory of her dad.
Yeah.
And drive under 43.
That would be amazing. And I think with how close she was, I think that it's likely that with some time she'll be comfortable with it and hopefully be able to do that. Because at this point,
imagine driving just the Coupe Quattro.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Imagine driving that even just on the street. Because also she just turned 16. Like she's just starting her, not even her racing career, but like her just driving as a human being career.
Yeah. Like all of this,
that's fucking hard, dude.
All of this just started within the last year. Like she has been racing kart and rally for a few years now.
Yeah, you can do that shit whenever. Yeah, 13, 14, whatever.
But the last 6 months have been building her first car, which was this. I love the color of it. This like deep maroon red Coupe Quattro.
Burgundy, yeah.
And then also even early last year being a feature film on or like a featured person on Hoonigan because she drove season 2 of Hoonigan versus the World. Which was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, a 15-year-old girl, like just,
decimating
doing,
fools.
8-second quarter mile shit.
Yeah.
Being that all that has happened in the past year, it makes this even more traumatic. That like right as everything was really going up, this happens. Mm-hmm. And my hope is that this will be a plateau for a moment with maybe a little down and some understandable
she uses
time.
it as a springboard.
Yeah. Because I really think that would be great. But again, caveat, I will 100% understand and respect whatever she does.
Oh, and only time will tell.
Yep.
Ken, we miss you.
Yeah.
And I just hope that, the Hoonigan team, both here in Utah and also in California, will find a way to carry on in his memory.
Yeah.
I just spent a lot of money on a trip to California myself.
Yeah.
But once I start making more money back, I will be buying some Hoonigan swag.
Oh, yeah.
I've been seeing independent third-party, just individual people trying to make stickers and sell them, which seems kind of shady.
Agreed.
Not shady, just kind of shitty.
Really piss poor timing because you're clearly trying to take advantage.
Like, with a hashtag like, 43 ever.
Yeah.
Or 43 ver, I think is the hashtag like people are using.
Forever.
Yeah. Or 43 forever, or KB forever. I've been seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Which is sad. And if you want to, remember Ken, Hoonigan is probably going to carry on.
Yeah.
Probably in some capacity. So in order to honor them and to honor Ken and to remember him, buy from the Hoonigan website.
Yeah.
I was just looking up, there's a super sick, like this checkered sweater that Scotto has worn. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just a black and white checker with like one of the chest pieces being like the Hoonigan logo, like just the H.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's fucking sick. Like that's clean. Like I'm just thinking about getting like, that and like a hoodie and a hat.
Yeah.
Something like that. So there's another, a lot of people are like getting into trouble recently because there's Ken Block, Jeremy Renner just got injured on a fucking snowmaker or a
plow.
cat track.
Yeah, cat track plow.
And then Robbie Pierce
Yeah, and out of all these, Robbie Pierce was the one I know the least, but I do know Jim Coe. I do know like a lot of his legacy and a lot of like, for instance, Mastercraft. Like he pioneered a lot of like safety systems for off-road. He also was a driver. He also owned Jim Coe. Like I know how big he was in that space, even though I don't know too much about him. So I know that, you know, he's also just as big of a loss. And also, interestingly enough, just sadly, while on vacation, similar to what Ken was doing. Ken was just with family and friends out at the ranch. Robbie was out in I believe it was in the Caribbean. Yeah, he was just scuba diving.
So I don't even know what actually happened. I just know that he passed.
Yeah, and it was just right here.
What happened?
So it doesn't even say right here. He just lost his life while scuba diving off the Bonaire Island in the Caribbean.
Okay.
So I haven't seen what happened. This is just most of what I've seen. It's just that it was in the Caribbean, which is, you know, still almost a more tragic way to die. Like if, for instance, you're doing a stunt, like it's almost understandable. It's tragic, but it's almost understandable that something went wrong. But like both of these instances are they were with friends and family and just random shit happened, not even while they were doing their normal crazy shit.
Yeah.
It almost makes it a lot more tragic because it was just at a time they were relaxing and just enjoying a holiday.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie was older.
Yes.
That's the other tragic thing about Ken is that Ken was 55.
Yeah.
With, you know, teenage kids.
Yes.
You know, I don't know how old Robbie was, but he looks like he's in his 70s or something.
He was almost in his 70s. He was born in like 55, I believe. So he was getting up there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just...
I mean, still an influential character in the automotive world.
Yeah, another major influential character. And there was one more, you know, I did find it... I kind of wanted to mention this near miss right here. So one of the individuals participating in the Dakar almost perished within an hour of Ken.
That's weird.
Yes. So crashed on stage one about 50 miles in. Major crash, chest, and I don't think any vertebrae damage, but like rib and chest damage and a major concussion. Yeah, very, very, very bad crash. But fortunately, he's still alive. But like, you know, his Dakar is over for this year, no doubt. But
52 kilometers. Yep. So that's 30 miles.
Yeah. But like, it was just so interesting that all of these things happened within a 24-hour period.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. It was at the beginning of the year, just decided to just go ham, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to describe it. It's just,
life is precious.
Very much so.
Tell your people you love them.
And looking at all these threes, not just Ken, but looking at like Robbie and Ken and all the things that have happened at the beginning of this year, I think the best way you can honor any of these guys' legacies is by being yourself. And I know it sounds cliche and shit, but like I've watched a couple interviews with Ken over the last week and just like him more as a person rather than as Hoonigan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the shit he would always say in interviews. He's like, look, part of the reason I ended up successful was just because we kept trying shit. In the early 90s, when they were starting up all their clothing brands, like DC Shoes specifically was the 7th brand him and the guys started up. Like DC stood for Drawer Clothing, which was a brand they started up and actually sold, but they wanted to continue making shoes. So DC Shoes was what they made to avoid copyright problems.
Wow.
But that's the one that actually took off and they sold to Quicksilver. Yeah. But that was the 7th one. In fact, actually Scotto and a couple of the other co-founder of DC Shoes have been posting a bunch of old photos from like the 90s of Ken and them. And like in the big baggy jeans and all this. It's been an awesome like nostalgia trip. It's very interesting because you don't see that much of Ken. You only see really 2008 and newer. Anyways, but having looked at the way that like he lived his life and seemingly the way that Robbie lived his life as well, like just as silly as cliche as it sounds, be true to yourself and do the shit you want to do. Don't try to emulate other people. Don't be a dick. Like just do your shit, be cool, and some success in some form, if you're smart about it, will come your way.
Right.
Like that really is the best way to honor any of these individuals if you feel it necessary to honor them.
True.
You know, so, but that being said, it's been a sad week, but
it's been a weird week.
We'll carry on. And I think that hopefully there'll be a lot of good momentum from these tragedies, and hopefully in the end,
give us the strength to carry on, to achieve our goals.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people, Hoonigan is a brand outside of Hoonigan Racing, like they'll continue to do their content. There's a lot of people out there in California that are, I guarantee will use this as a good springboard. I'll be interested to see if maybe they have some kind of like a memorial of types, or like some kind of like a get together, or maybe some kind of fan involved thing. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I have already had a member of the Park City Car Club message me about wanting to do a memorial drive, like a cruise through town to remember Ken.
Yeah.
I think I like where he's coming from.
Yes.
I don't want this to turn into another Paul Walker situation.
Agreed.
And I'm speaking as an organizer here. I think that if that were to happen, it would be in the summertime.
Yeah.
It would be cool to get his cars out there, get Leah out there, get his family out there, and get the city of Park City to shut some things down.
Agreed. I think that get-togethers like that,
which is going to be really fucking tough, because there's a lot of the old farts in Park City, the old money that really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And there's this whole new crop of new money billion with a B, billionaires.
Yes.
That also don't give a shit. I was just at a dinner last night, talking with some family friends at my mom had a birthday dinner last night.
Nice.
And we were talking about so you know how like Thermal Race Club, like the country club, how that is?
Yeah.
There's that with skiing now in Park City, where in order to get a spot at this resort, minimum you have to buy a $5 million plot of land and then develop on it. And then the yearly, I think, is $250,000 to $500,000.
Holy shit.
That's the level of shit that's happening in Park City right now. So, you know, it would be great to meet up with the Hoonigan people and to organize something like that and to work directly with them.
Yeah.
That would be a really touching and emotional and meaningful thing to do.
Yep.
I don't know if they'd want to be on board with that. I don't know if the sheriff would be on board with that. I don't know. Like, the only people that are an easy, green light is participants showing up.
Exactly. Yeah. I have no doubt there'd be plenty of people that would. There'd be a lot of stipulations along the way.
Insurance you have to pull out for that kind of shit. You know, the insurance policy. Getting in touch, and it's easy to get in touch with the sheriff, but like, it's daunting.
Yeah. Because
like, hi, I have a proposal. I'd like to shut down a road in the middle of the summertime for a parade that isn't the 4th of July.
Yes, exactly. In a small town, relatively speaking,
a booming and very powerful town.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and it would be difficult, and I also don't want to turn this into a similar Paul Walker situation where there's just impromptu, stupid meetups that happen for stupid reasons.
That's already happened. There's already a video of a G35 or 350Z doing it's same kind of activity that's happening at takeovers. Yeah. Like I saw the same thing in a video clip already.
I know, which is sad.
It is sad. That's the fucking opposite of what Ken would want, or Paul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it would be cool to. I think in the coming month is where we'll learn a lot about what will happen in the future with the actual racing team.
Yeah, in the next 3-6 months. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of logistics there. There's a lot of ins and outs, and ones and twos and gears that change. So we'll have to see about that.
One final thing, because you did mention at the beginning how many people have tweeted and whatnot about this.
Oh my God, the whole fucking automotive world, yeah.
Yeah, and even a few that I didn't expect. And one of them, which was just interesting to note, was T-Pain, of all people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Apparently the dude's into amateur rally, and I had no fucking clue.
I've heard about his drifting.
Or, sorry, amateur drift events and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, he tweeted out about it and just said, like, I met up with Ken a couple times. My entire inspiration for getting into drift was Ken. And that was just people even outside. Yet again, another example of people even outside of the automotive world. It's a big shock. So
it is.
We'll see what goes on. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken, for the memories that you shared and the inspiration that you've endowed onto people. Mm-hmm. Thank you for I don't want to just say thank you for the videos.
Yeah.
But thank you for the inspiration and the camaraderie that you have endowed within the rest of the automotive world. Thank you for all the memories. that we didn't hang out together. You didn't hang out with the rest of the automotive world, but we hung out with you. So,
and thank you for being the person that you are, which is what inspired a lot of this.
Yeah. So, thank you for all of that. We'll tune in next time with hopefully not as somber of an ending of an episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did want to just say thank you to Ken and thank you to the Hoonigans. And, you are in our thoughts and we already miss you dearly. So thanks for tuning in if you're still with us, and we will see you next time. Bye.